it has been completed. For the past month, maybe even like a month and a week, because I ended up getting Final Fantasy VII Rebirth a little bit late, but I've been playing it off and on the days that I work. I'll get off and then I'll literally just grind for a couple hours. On my days off, I'd be playing before I started playing with friends. And it was just non-stop Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, looking up lore videos, listening to podcasts regarding the games, listening to reviews. But it has finally been completed. I have obtained the Platinum Trophy for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Now, in my review video, I talked about it being a 10 out of 10, and still, after completing the game, it is still a 10 out of 10 in my eyes. The sheer amount that you have to do was very intimidating. I will not lie, like, it was intimidating, and I thought I'd hate it, but after, I kind of had a different mindset, because prior to this platinum, I platinumed Suicide Squad. That game sucked, and it required, you know, like 40 hours of just grinding the same 2 missions over and over and over again. So coming to this, where it's just a sheer amount of stuff that you do have to grind and like play and stuff, and it's not really even a grind, because grinding kind of pertains to like grinding for items and stuff, and you don't really have to do that unless your materia is not leveled up all the way. But like, this was a fun platinum. It had way more to do in it than Suicide Squad, but Suicide Squad felt like I played that for like 300 straight hours of just nonsense, and I only put in 40 hours to platinum the game. This game took me, I think, 128 hours to platinum, and I loved every single minute of it. Well, okay, maybe minus 6 hours of it, because I'm pretty sure I was stuck on a couple things, and you guys probably have an idea of what it was. But the journey was fun. My first playthrough, I probably logged in maybe about 60 hours of just like story-wise, because I was trying to hit the story. I played on easy because I wanted to experience the story. I wanted to hear every bit of dialogue, whether it was, you know, in the actual boss fights, because I didn't want to have to think. I wanted to turn my brain off and enjoy the story for what it was. And there's about 33 or so trophies that you can literally get just playing the game. But that's also where the challenge actually begins, because after you complete everything, you know, you do all the side quests and you go up to Johnny and you realize there's a treasure trove where you have to get all these collectibles, and there's 88 of them. That is where the kind of platinum challenge begins, right there, when you find out that you have to do all that, because you read it in like the trophy description and it literally means nothing to you. It's like, oh, I can probably just find these, you know, throughout the world and then bring it back to them. No, these are challenges you have to do. And I mean, there is some things you have to find with your chocobo, but the majority of these are just challenges, completing all the mini games on hard mode, completing all the chapters on hard mode. Well, actually, no, you don't have to do that for that one. That's just a trophy. But completing all the Chadley stuff on hard mode, or I should say just all the Chadley just stuff in general. Literally every single mini game, completing it best score, and if it has a hard mode, completing that too. Doing certain requirements within a chapter, for instance, like throwing and destroying I think 10 boxes with Kate Sith, getting over 100,000 score, I believe, in the Shinra March, as well as like taking a picture. When you're taking a picture of the 7th Infantry, there is a Rufus cutout, and if you take a picture of all of them, including the Rufus cutout, and don't cut him out, then that will also be a collectible that you can get. And the thing is, I enjoyed every single bit of it. The only thing I truly did not enjoy was, I think, the Chocobo flying little training courses. Didn't like gliding through these. I mean, it wasn't bad. It was just the last one, I think, because the literally the final target, and I think I was stuck on it for like maybe 20 minutes, but the final target, it's like I never had enough altitude to get back to it. So then I was just like going backwards, flying, and then going back up to the fan and seeing if I could make it that way, and I ended up doing that. But like Gears and Gambits was one that I wasn't fond of too much until I kind of learned. I was reading through everything and learning how to actually play it, and once you learn how to play it, it's kind of simple, but it's still like, it's not a great minigame. Fort Condor I still love for whatever reason. I played that on hard mode the moment I found it, and I enjoyed it a lot. I don't know why. It's just, it was a nice challenge, because the thing is, I'm not a person that hates challenges. Even if it's like tedious, maybe just dumb luck challenges, I still enjoy them kind of, because once you figure them out, there's a sense of accomplishment for it. Like, it's the same like that I get with Souls games. I'll be stuck on a boss, then once I finally beat them, it becomes just the kind of a sense of just accomplishment, and I'm just happy I did it. But even Cactuar Crush, that's like a tongue twister for me. But that mini game, at first, I was not happy with, because I was just going through the proto relics and doing them just on normal, doing the normal stuff, and not really. I read the descriptions of everything, kind of understood the mechanics, but didn't really do them properly. So I was dreading going back through them on hard mode. But once you actually go back to them and then you figure out exactly how Yuffie and Aerith works in those mini games, it becomes very, very easy. Playing Animal Rocket League with Nanaki was actually like really fun. Well, okay, let me not say really fun. It was a weird fun because I didn't expect this mini game to be in there, because I missed that entire trailer. Did not see that trailer at all. Then playing a Fall Guys mini game disguised as a frog was interesting, but still decently fun. And they were literally both like a Fall Guys mini game, like both of them, both the first one and the second one. And you had to get, I think, a minute and 20 seconds surviving on there. But really none of the mini games were hard up until you get to the battle little 3D brawler simulator thing, because it's like Mike Tyson's Punch Out but worse, because some of the punches they throw look very similar to other punches they throw. And I get it, after you probably play it for a while you start learning them slowly, but I think up until the person right before Sephiroth, which I think it was the ultimate party animal or something, that boss, it was like the one where I was like, okay, this is starting to get annoying slowly, and I was like eager to get to Sephiroth because I knew he had to be the last one, because he was the only one that I didn't have. So I did know about the pause buffer trick, but I didn't want to do it for anyone but Sephiroth if I got there. And I attempted to actually beat Sephiroth legitimately, and it really worked up until I got to like the third phase of him, where he started just literally doing all of his barrage furies or whatever they call them. I think that was like the first thing that I did out of all the mini games, was finish those. But once it got to there and they started like really switching them up on me, because the first phase, they always do the exact same combo in the exact same way, unless you fail stopping his first barrage. If you fail stopping the first barrage, then, or I should say dodging it, then the next time he'll throw something different. But as long as you get there and do everything flawlessly, he'll always do the same stuff. It's just the last part that kind of gets me every single time. But ended up beating him. The piano mini games are fun, and I really had no issue getting an A rank on all of them. But then you end up unlocking another piece of the music once you finish everything and turn it into him, because then he's all of a sudden, I mean, obviously he was going to be a professional, but damn, it was a true professional, because he was killing it, and then he hands you the music he was just killing it on, and then you realize, damn, I'm not him. But I think I ended up A ranking that one as well. But you didn't need to do that one, so I realized, unless you want to do like an actual 100%, but I'm just going for the plat. But then obviously finding all the proto relics, extremely fun. I mean, the idea of having a storyline within each region was interesting to me, because at first I was like, are they all going to be Fort Condor? I was excited about that because I actually liked Fort Condor. But then the next one being, actually I did them out of order for some reason, because I think I did some of the grasslands that was like, huh. And then I did Junon, which I think that was the one that, I don't know, I did them out of order. I don't know which one had which, but just having each region have different storylines with these proto relics was really fun to watch as well as play, except for Gears and Gambits, but that wasn't too bad either. But then it all leading up to Gilgamesh, and you having this boss fight barrage of all the summons, which you don't know it at the time, but it's training you for what's to come in the Chadley boss fights, which we'll get into those a little bit later. Finding all the proto relics and world intel in every single area. I will say I think Gungaga was the worst place for finding all the world intel for me personally, just because I just felt like I was having a little bit more trouble finding the spots, because they're just it's not like a puzzle per se, but like it's just sometimes I'm like, how the hell do I get to this chocobo stop? And then you end up like finding out that there's this mushroom that takes you there, but I missed it like 3 times going right beside it, not even knowing. But then you got the Moogle Emporiums, which those mini games are also not too bad. I mean, I remember hearing that they were like annoying for some people, but for me, I think I did them first try on nearly every single one except the last one. I think I died one time, or not died, but failed one time. But then other than that, it was pretty easy. Chocobo races, honestly, one of the funnest parts about the game, in my opinion. But here's the thing, if you want a challenge, don't save them for last. Do them when you can do them earlier in the story, because I made the mistake of saving them for last and then and I think I did all the chocobo stops, so I ended up having access to all the best gear. So when I was able to do all the actual chocobo races, it became very, very easy because it was almost impossible to beat me. There was a gap of almost an entire, maybe 3/4 of a lap in between me and the person in second place, but they were still really, really fun to do. I think the only race that was more of a challenge was the one that you get in the quest line, the Chocobo Cup, I think it was what it is. But that was the one that was definitely more like, okay, this is the true test, but it still was like a breeze pretty much. I think you're like in second place through like the first lap and half of the second lap, but then you start slowly inching forward because it's giving you the facade that, okay, this is gonna be hard to beat. But then, you know, you get to the third lap and you realize, okay, I'm actually ahead by quite a bit again. But still, really, really fun to play. But then the ultimate, my favorite mini game that, I don't even know if these count as mini games, but it had an entire quest line tied to it, Queen's Blood. My favorite thing to do in the game, I want to say I put just too many hours into that. Of just building the decks to use, and I don't really have any footage other than I think me beating the Shadow Queen. It would be like hours of footage to go through, and I'm like, I'll just show you guys the end of it. But it was really, really fun doing the puzzle challenges in Costa del Sol. Doing the other challenges in the Gold Saucer is also very fun. I found myself about 75% of the way with even every single person that you fight trying to use the starter deck, never changing my cards because I wanted to keep it the same and see if I could do it. But it started getting a lot more difficult because you started needing those cards that, you know, would enfeeble the rest of your cards and give them more power. And then you started learning more about the mechanics of, okay, I can let them win this row, but if I just put all my coins into this, or I should say my power into this one row, I could win it all here. And then you unlock the Shadow Blood Queen card, and then you realize, okay, I can just pop this card and practically win the entire game because the opponent will they'll hurt you by hurting them. Well, I should say strengthening them, but they're really strengthening me in the end. Like, it was a just endless battle of that. But the starter deck battle that I was trying to go through lasted, I would say, 75% of the way, and then I realized, okay, I'm outmatched and need to start actually building my deck, and that's when I started doing that. I'd say the only hard part about the Queen's Blood challenges was the last one in the Gold Saucer. It was like the Nightmare Survival one, and you're kind of required to not really have a set deck, but you need to have the Shadow Blood Queen card to at least, you know, tank what's to come later on. And you also need to make sure you have a lot of cards that are going to give you more cards after you place it. But other than that, it's a pretty decently easy challenge once you figure that out, because when I first played it, I was like, what the heck is this? This is not winnable. But then you start realizing, okay, I got all these cards, let me bring them out, and then it became very simple. But yeah, Queen's Blood was probably my favorite, and there's probably other mini games that I'm forgetting about, but the majority of them were really, really fun. But now we're at the point where it's up to the player of how they want to tackle this. I've seen people do hard mode first and then do the brutal and legendary challenges for the platinum. I've also seen people do the brutal and legendary challenges first and then save hard mode for the end. I am that one. I decided to do the brutal and legendary challenges first. And I don't know if it was necessarily a mistake or a good thing, because in my opinion, if you do the brutal and legendary challenges first, once you complete them, you're gonna fly through the hard mode of just the story, because there's nothing that is going to be as challenging as what you're going to face in the legendary and brutal challenges. Mainly the brutal challenges, mainly the legendary challenges, just because those are, you need to know the mechanics or at least have a build ready for those fights, and those builds can be used in the story mode. Now, the story mode does throw some wrenches where they give you, you know, certain characters that you may have not have used. But all in all, like, if you completed the brutal and legendary challenges, you are ready for hard mode. But like I said, I started with the brutal and legendary challenges first. The brutal challenges were actually pretty simple up until you get to the ruler of the outer worlds. And this is when I was telling you about the whole Gilgamesh kind of preparing you for this, because rulers of the outer worlds is literally the exact same as what you face there, but instead now it's a boss rush, 5 rounds of just straight craziness of you're facing 2 summons after 2 summons after 2 summons, and you're fighting Gilgamesh, and then you're fighting Sephiroth. Now there's some builds that are used. I was using Yuffie the majority of my first playthrough. In general, I was already kind of aware of the Brumal form spam. I just wasn't aware of how to make it completely busted. But having already got that little chain that you get from beating Roche without any of your 7th infantry dropping, I started to piece together the build and then refined it with what I seen. Because I won't lie, I did look up a build because what I was doing was not working properly. I would always get towards Gilgamesh and then kind of messing up and slowly just getting annoyed, because for some reason when I do really good and then die, all of a sudden I start getting worse and worse until the next day. And knowing that legendary was going to be harder than the battles that I was facing because they were more solo and duo battles, I was like, yeah, it's fine. Let's go ahead and just figure out a proper build for this. And I saw the Yuffie Brumo form little spam build, and it intrigued me because I was like, I'm already kind of doing it just the wrong way. So that's when I learned, all right, let me refine it a little bit more and let me put these in there. And then, yeah, it became simple. Rulers of the Outer Worlds essentially became just easy. Now I know other builds that I can do that I've made for the future fights that I would literally just put them all together. You could put the Tifa dive kick build. You could put their Roga cloud build with prime mode, which that's just I use that practically the entire playthrough because prime mode is just insane. And then you get your little buff that then you can just spam your magic. That MP absorption and HP absorption is literally broken, and it can carry you through the entire game, in my honest opinion. But I could put those 3 builds together into a team and then probably destroy that still, and it wouldn't be, I mean, nothing is going to be as hard as it was when I first tried it. But then Cloud's legendary bout was actually decently difficult, but like I said, I've been using prime mode already at the time, so it wasn't necessarily as hard as I was hoping it was going to be. Because parrying with prime mode is really simple because it kind of does it for you, but you can also parry yourself, and it builds up a whole bunch of ATB. Then you spam your level 3 magic that you have tied to your MP and HP absorption. You get your HP back so you never have to cure, as well as you get your MP back so you never have to worry about actually losing out on MP. There was no fights in the Cloud battle that was really hard except for the White Terror. The White Terror was actually like, that one will test you and test your knowledge of everything. And the funny thing is, like, you'll see through the gameplay, I do struggle a little bit on this, but then you'll notice, like, comparing this to where I'm at, let's say the legendary with Zack, or even hard mode against Sephiroth or those, you'll notice that I've gotten a lot better with just, some things, which I think I actually struggled on Sephiroth at the end game because I was like trying to beat it before I had to leave. So I was kind of like in a rush. But not too bad, and honestly, you'll see little footage here and there minutes long. I just put, I think, the last boss fight of all of them except Keith Sith, because Keith Sith, maybe I did keep him, but it was like, I think Red 13 actually, but Red 13 and the Keith Sith was like boring to me. I just didn't enjoy their fights at all. And I guess Barrett's too. Barrett's was annoying with the Adamantoids, but like, I mean, what can you do? You just gotta make sure he doesn't do his dumbass, I don't even know what to call the move, but it just fucking shoots you, and if you don't interrupt him or pressure him, then he'll just do it nonstop. But still, not too bad. Well, that's a damn lie, it was pretty bad, but got through all of those fine. But the real crux of the challenge begins right here. This essentially will make or break whether or not you're gonna get the platinum. And don't get me wrong, I got to these and I almost wanted to quit and not even go for it. I thought it wasn't gonna be worth it. I even had the idea in my head of paying someone to do it because it pissed me off that bad. And it's not even, I shouldn't even say the last 2 challenges. Sephiroth's got first tried, but that's because I learned so much from losing so much on the Zack part. Zack is not the greatest character. Like, he's good, he can do a lot of damage, his combos are nice, it builds up a lot of ATB, and if you quick charge, which at the time I really wasn't worried about quick charging, that's on me. It's probably why it was harder. Also why the challenge was a lot harder. At the time, I was not leveling up all my materials that mattered. My MP and HP absorption were not leveled up to the max. Magic focus, not leveled up to the max. Literally, like, all the major materials that I needed to level up were not leveled up to the max. So therefore, it was just a struggle to even get through these fights. Now, given it's a skill problem a little bit, because you kind of don't need, if you learn all their attacks and learn how to parry and all that, then it becomes very simple and you don't need all of your material leveled up. But it makes it a lot easier if you're not as great, like I'm not. So I did the Gungaga farm. I ended up being stuck for like, I'd say a day, but when I say a day, it's like a session of maybe 2 hours, which still is a lot. But I ended up being stuck that long on the course of like a couple sessions, so a couple days, where I was getting very demoralized. I ended up doing the Gungaga AP farm. Did that for about an hour. Got all of my stuff ready. put my build together, and this is where I was talking about the prime mode Eroga build. And that build, I guess you can call it a cheese build if you want, but in my opinion, it still requires you to know a lot about the mechanics of the game, as well as how prime mode works, and you can even include a sonic boom in there, and just kind of just learning when to parry, when not to parry, when to tank a hit, when not to tank a hit. But that's just really the story of the last 2 challenges, as well as hard mode. It's just you've learned everything the game has to offer, and now put it together and defeat this challenge. And I did just that. After I leveled up all of my materia, I went to bed that day and woke up, and instead of getting ready to do everything, which I think that day I was supposed to watch an NBA game, and it was like an early in the day thing, so I woke up even earlier than that. Didn't even get myself ready or anything. I was like, for some reason I have the urge of beating this challenge, and I feel like I can beat it. I got on, turned on the game, looked at my materia setup, made sure everything was good, and realized I can beat this shit right now. And I did. I beat it first try that day. And then right after that, I was like, let me try Sephiroth. Sephiroth was so much easier because once you learn his moveset and all that, which you can learn it literally against Titan, and then you realize, wow, this man can build his limit extremely fast. He has re-raise, which makes it a just ton easier. So by the time you get to Odin, you've already, pretty much everyone's going to struggle beating Odin, that you've already known how to defeat every other boss prior to that. So pretty much leading up to Odin, it's so much easier because you can just destroy everyone, including Sephiroth being just busted because, well, he's Sephiroth. But then by the time you get to Odin, just build up 2 ATB like that because it's really, really fast. And then cast re-raise on both Cloud and Sephiroth, and you can either do the synergy skills that give you unlimited MP, so then it won't cost anything when you cast re-raise. But yeah, Odin was very simple. Now I think I struggled in the fight because, like I said, I woke up early, was still not like fully awake, but I beat it and it was very fun. The triumphant victory, this was equivalent to beating a boss in like Elden Ring, Bloodborne, anything like that, Sekiro. I mean, in my opinion, Elden Ring was like this is a hot take, Elden Ring is like the easiest Souls game of all time, in my opinion. Now, I don't really have an opinion on what's the hardest. It's really a toss-up between, I would say, Bloodborne or Sekiro. I didn't struggle with Sekiro at all, but that's kind of like just my games. I love Sekiro and all that, and all the FromSoft games. But this was equivalent to beating one of those games. Like, I really loved playing those challenges. They were annoying, don't get me wrong, they were annoying, but after I did all that, I was like, oh yeah, hard mode's gonna be a breeze, and it was. I would have little hiccups here and there, like I'll speed through, you know, the first 4 chapters, and I'm skipping every single cutscene, yeah, I know, but I already dealt with, I've learned everything there is. There's nothing I can watch. I'd watch select cutscenes that I really enjoyed, but I was skipping. I was like, all right, let's go, we're going through this. And then I watched a lot of other cutscenes that I was like, okay, I like this one, all right, skip this. I'd watch the Loveless play again because I needed to hear Air sing No Promises to Keep, because really love that song. I listen to that song probably daily at this point. It's actually getting on my nerves because I like the song so much. I'll literally listen to it on the way to work if I choose to. But then we had like a Barrett versus Dyne. Gave me a little trouble. I would say it took about 2 tries. It's really when it forces you to use a character that you don't often use, and I don't often use Barrett. I normally use Barrett as a, all right, someone's weak, let me tank the hits and get him aggro to me. He has the most health, so that way then I can heal someone else. But then Demon Wall nearly killed me, I think, at one point, but still was a fun fight. There were just select fights here and there that were like kind of a struggle, but not, but still enjoyable. But then obviously getting to the K-Sith Shinra Manor, I just like wanted to breeze through that. I didn't stop for a single cutscene because I hated that area so much, because K-Sith, like, they didn't have to change the mechanics of throwing anything. Like, you didn't need to have to reinvent throwing. Just let me throw the box normal. I didn't want to have to hold L2, or is it, yeah, I think L2, hold R1, pull back on the stick, but not all the way, and then press square, which just sounds like a lot, when in reality it should be hold L2, look where you need to, pull back, and then pull up or something like that to throw, you know, something easier. But then we get all the way through all that, and then we get to the end. I will say the end I was expecting. I heard a lot of people struggle on this, and I struggled on Sephiroth, but I did not struggle on any of the Genova parts of it or Sephiroth Reborn. I actually nearly first tried every single part of that, except for it was right after you beat Sephiroth Reborn with Zack, and then the switches to, I believe, Yuffie, Red, and Barret. That one, I only died I think once because I let him do Octo Slash. And I also like completely forgot I thought I had to match the elements with the element he was showing, and that was not the case. Didn't learn that until after like halfway through the fight, and then he did Octo Slash, and I was like, oh great. But then we got the Omni Aerith Cloud boss fight, which I will say I struggled a little bit because having played against, you know, the virtual Sephiroth, I forgot that he was going to do other moves. Because I did not play against the normal Sephiroth boss fight in so long, completely forgot about how he fought. So when he was doing, you know, all these other moves like the Whisper's Cannon, I think, or something like that, didn't know that one-shotted me. It did. And then I almost killed him. I literally was almost soloing him. I wish I would have beat him so then I would have the footage for it. But since I didn't beat him, I was like, nope, deleting that. But I almost soloed Sephiroth with Aerith because I love, my go-to now is casting Arcane Ward, you know, for obviously my Aroga build with Cloud, but then casting Radiant, was it like Radiant Ward or something? But it's where it changes all your attacks with Aerith and she becomes a god. I'm not giving, she's already a god. When she comes back through and I'm like, damn girl, you're back, and she comes destroying everything. I'm like, damn, this is amazing. But then I ended up beating Sephiroth finally and rejoicing that I am completely done with the game. 128 hours in, enjoying every single minute, and part of me kind of wants to play through it again on easy to like kind of live the entire story again, because I wasn't doing that on hard because I wanted to get through hard, but I kind of want to do one last playthrough of it. But you know, that's just for me. If people had trouble with the platinum, including myself, had trouble with the platinum in this game, be afraid of part 3, because the challenges that they could put in there is going to be insane. Like Chadley's going to have some races as challenges for you in that game for sure. And mark my words, come back to this video, which if you got this far, comment down Buster Sword and then put a colon, and then tell me your experience with this game. Did you get the platinum and all that? But also mark my words, come back to this video, because I'm telling you, Chadley will have more legendary and brutal challenges, but one of the challenges, you're gonna have a boss rush, and it's gonna have Sephiroth and Genesis as a dual fight. Or if not a dual fight, you're gonna have to fight like a Sephiroth and then Genesis. Or imagine a triple fight. Angeal, Sephiroth, and Genesis. Holy crap, that'd be crazy. But nah, just Genesis and Sephiroth for sure. Mark my words, this is going to be a fight. Because Genesis will be in part 3 somehow, because he technically does not wake up until Dirge of Cerberus. They're going to do something. They're going to do something for part 3 of just, you know, secret boss fights or something like that. And Genesis is about to be a freaking menace. But that's not even going to be the hardest part. The hardest parts of part 3 will probably be the super bosses. If you know, you know. One in the air, one in the sea. I'm not going to spoil anything else past that, but there is going to be much harder stuff to do in part 3 than this game. This game was a test. Like how Gilgamesh was training you to, you know, do the brutal challenges, the rulers of the outer worlds. Part 2 is just training you to get the platinum for the real challenge of part 3. Because part 3 is about to have much more mini games, I promise that, as well as much harder challenges and probably much harder boss fights. If we thought the 10 phase boss fight at the end of this game was something, what they have in store for you at the end of part 3 was probably gonna be even crazier, as well as Knights of the Round. Oh, I can't wait to watch that. I'm never using that summoning materia because that shit probably gonna take 9 years, and I can't skip a single minute of it because it was a long animation back in the day. Back in the original, it was a long animation. Nowadays, it's gonna be even longer. All the budget's gonna be blown of Knights of the Round. Like, that's the crazy part. But nah, like, I'm so excited for part 3. Thing is, I'm a Kingdom Hearts fan. I'm an extreme Kingdom Hearts fan. I did not think I was going to be insanely invested in the Final Fantasy VII remakes and, you know, I guess Rebirth now. I didn't think I was going to be invested in part 3. I now care more about part 3 than Kingdom Hearts 4. Now, don't get me wrong, that attitude will change once Kingdom Hearts 4 is announced more, and you know, we get a release date and then it actually comes out, because it'll probably come out before Final Fantasy VII Part 3, but because I think they said it's going to be 2027 is what they're aiming for, which would be the 30th year anniversary of Final Fantasy VII, which is a perfect timing. But yeah, I cannot wait. That game is just, I wish I could erase my brain, Men in Black myself, and then play it again. But obviously have the platinum still, because I don't want to have to redo that. But I do want to re-experience the story and all the videos I've watched, because it has been a blast. But yes, that is the platinum trophy, another one down, and I kind of now want to go back and platinum remake, and then platinum reunion as well, and then go even further back and platinum the original OG FF7. This was a great time, and man, I cannot wait for part 3, and cheers to hoping it will be just as good. But if you guys did enjoy this video, if you did, leave a like, subscribe, and you guys know the drill. I will see you guys later.